What's up, guys? Jason Guyman here, and tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about how do we get to $50,000 per month. I've been thinking about it today. I've seen a couple people talking about how do we get to a $500,000. Whether we're talking pressure washing or Christmas lights, it really is about the same. And so I will break the differences down. So I'm actually doing it on both, but I'm going to primary focus on pressure washing. Being that we are in the season of pressure washing, we are less than a month away from most people starting pressure washing businesses and getting it started out of the season. Hopefully, we can start in March this year. Sometimes it's April, but we're hoping to shoot for March. I see the weather is sucky right now, but it should start turning. By the end of the month, it's starting to turn a little bit. And so, hopefully, by the end of this month, 1st of March, we can get going with pressure washing. And so some of you can start because you're down in the south, and some of you can't start because you're too far north, and it's just it keeps pounding the snow down on you. Last year, I know New York got snow in April, so that kind of took off about 4 to 6 weeks of you wasn't able to work. So that's what I want to talk about. I was just thinking about it this morning. I've seen several things, and I'm wanting to hit on how do we get to 50,000? What do we need to do? Where do we need to stand at? What are some things that we can do to make this happen for 2026? Because I believe 2026 is going to be amazing. And so I think that I'm going to talk about KPIs, things that we need to look at, and why it's important to understand what we need to look at so we can see how do we get there, and not only on the business side of how do we get to $50,000 per month, but how do we get there on the operational side. And this is again for pressure washing and Christmas lights. Obviously Christmas lights is going to be a little bit more than that because I'm shooting for the $500,000 a year. How do we get to $500,000 in business a year? And that's what I'm going to hit on. I know that I've coached several people to be able to get to that. I've done it myself, and so I will talk to you about how I did it, what you need to do to be able to do the same thing too. So that's my goal for tonight. So with that, my book of the week is Endless Customers. I don't have it with me right now because I'm actually at my house and not in the barn or in my shop because it's cold and I don't feel like trying to get the heaters and everything going. And so Endless Customers, I believe, is an amazing thing that you can do for your business. And whether you are getting your follow-up systems, all of these things that are very important for your business in 2026. So we got what's up. We got Daniel. I love Christmas lights. Let's go. Starting commercial cold calls back up tomorrow. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We got Carrie from Tennessee. Let's go. Best January yet. Thank you. Cleared $15,000 this month. Awesome, dude. You know, that's amazing, dude. I'm super stoked for you. I'm super excited for you. Carrie came in last year, just getting by, been in business for several years and just getting by, and started his Christmas light business. And I know when I went down and seen him, he's like, typically this time of year, we're so far in debt, and I haven't gotten in debt at all. So it's amazing to see what you have accomplished and what you are doing. It's going to be your best year ever. And that is amazing, dude. Awesome, 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 Carrie. Carrie is in my Monday night marketing. He's in our membership, so he's showing up and learning and taking action. And that's the key, right? You know, the reason why I do my community is so that people can come in there and they can learn and grow and take action. And Kerry comes in every week. He asks questions, he takes action, and it's amazing to see what can happen when you start learning and taking action. You know, you can get all the knowledge in the world, but you won't grow a business if you just have all the knowledge. If you don't take action on the things that you've learned, it is the most important thing that you can do. Big Time is in the house. How are you doing, Mr. George Yost? Prestige Pressure Washing, Central Florida. And you all are, I was looking at one of my buddies is down in, he's down in Disney right now, and it's like, it's freezing here. There's icicles hanging off of Epcot ball. So it's kind of funny it's not funny for you all, but I know you guys are dying down there because it's 30 degrees. So made it on 15,000 is nothing to get excited about. I didn't say nothing about 15,000. I said 50,000. That's what I said. And 15,000 is something to get excited for January. What did you make this January if it's not exciting? So that would be my question, right? 15,000 in January is amazing. I was talking to Jason Hefner. I think he did 15 or 20 this year in January. It's been a great January for him too, which he's in Florida. So yes, 15, 20,000 is exciting thing for January for sure, because typically it is slow everywhere. Finishing up the least enjoyable business task, taxes. Yeah, right. That is not fun to hear. Hi all, thank you for the help, Jason. I got a sales guy with great contacts officially. And yes, people do reach out to me, and Jeremy reached out to me and asked some questions, and I gave him some insight, and I think he's going to probably triple his business this year. So that's amazing thing that can happen. So it's awesome. Space heater in the enclosed trailer to keep it from freezing. Swift and clean pressure washing in Columbus, Ohio. You're only about 2 hours away from me. So I'm in Cincinnati, and Columbus is about 2 hours from me. So let's talk about what are some key things in our pressure washing business. I'm going to first start in pressure washing, then I'll come back into the Christmas light business and finish up in the Christmas light business. So if you're my Christmas light guys, hang on, because a lot of this is going to be the same, whether we're talking about pressure washing or Christmas lights. A lot of the data we need to look at is going to be the same, whether we're talking about it in Christmas lights or pressure washing. And so this is what I would have to say about this, right? Some things that we need to do to be able to get to our $50,000 a month is we need to look at, and I'm not talking about if you're just starting out. If you're just starting out, these principles will apply. And if you can start building your base now, it will make sense. But how do we get to that point of what is our KPI? So key performance indicator. So we need to know what our numbers are. If you don't know what your numbers are, it's really hard to go from $10,000 to $50,000 a month or $100,000 a month, right? So some of the things that we need to know is what is our key performance. So with pressure washing, I'm going to start on the operational side. What is your average ticket? How many jobs do I need to get to $50,000, right? And so what we do know is typically a pressure washing truck can do on average about $2,000 a day. That's pretty average, $1,500 to $2,000, depending on your average ticket, right? So depend on your average ticket, you can do anywhere from about $1,500 to $2,000. Now, I know that some people can do more, and that's awesome, but typically when you put employees in a truck and you are not in the truck, typically you're going to get about $1,500 to $2,000 a day. So to be able to do, so if we have 20 days to work and we're at $2,000, that's at $40,000. So really, we're going to be really hard to be able to get to $50,000 with one truck. And a lot of times, your average ticket per day may not be $2,000. You're probably going to be shooting at the $1,500. But if you get your average ticket up and you get your jobs going and you're charging properly, you can get to $2,000 a day, especially if you're doing two people per truck, right? So to get to 2,000, 20 days, right? Because we're not working Saturdays and Sundays, that's going to put us at $40,000. So with the 50,000, we're either going to have to work them longer or we're going to have to try to figure out how to get another truck. But obviously, with another truck, it's not going to be full time because we only got $10,000 that we got to pick up. So it's kind of going to be that give and go. Maybe that you have one truck and you're on the other truck, and you get off the truck to be able to make this happen. So that's the first thing. How do we operational get to the point of checking out to see what we need to do for that? So what is that? What's our average ticket? So the other thing is what is our average ticket? So if your average ticket is $750 average ticket, then you need 2 jobs to get to 1,500, or you need 3 jobs to be able to get to the $2,000 average ticket. So if you get an average ticket of $1,000, then typically that's 2 jobs a day, 5 days a week. There you go. That is where you want to be at. And so that is why you want to be there. Now, it's going to depend on what you are doing. I've got a guy that came into my class and he was doing $199 house washes, right? I've got people that do $1,000 house washes. So it just really depends on where you need to go. And I agree with you on Carrie. So I really agree with that. So let's talk about the next thing. So we got what we need to be able to get our truck to. The next thing is how do we get enough leads to fulfill this? And this is why if you get to 10,000, I can tell you put out enough yard signs, you're going to get to $10,000, and it's pretty easy. But this is where we need to know our numbers. What is it costing us to get a customer? And a lot of people don't know what it cost them. They don't know where that lead is coming from. They don't know if it's coming from a yard sign. They don't know if it's coming from a door hanger. They don't know if it's coming from Google Business Profile. They don't know if it's coming from their website. They don't know if it's coming from a Google ad. They don't know if it's coming from a Facebook ad, because they put money in Facebook ads or putting money in Google ads, and they're not tracking any of it. And the problem with this is when we're not tracking, here's what happens when we're not tracking. When we are not tracking our numbers and understanding where things are coming in at, the problem of this is how do I know what to put the gas on? I had a friend and he's doing $1 million business, and he gave me his numbers. And he showed me his signs. He showed me what everything is coming in at. And he's like, I need to put more trucks on the road. And I'm like, trucks on the road, that's a 3-to-1 ROI. Yard signs over here are giving you a 20-to-1 ROI. That's a no-brainer. But if we don't look at that and we don't see the numbers and look at the numbers, how can we be like, well, let's put out more yard signs? Or look how many, maybe our average ticket from Google Ads is a lot higher, but maybe it's not as much. And so that's kind of where you got to look at it and say, all right, if Google Ads is my average ticket is 1,500, but yard signs is only 1,000, but I'm getting a better ROI, is it worth better putting over here or there? And that's where you got to start looking at it, because being able to go from $10,000 to $15,000 a month to $50,000 a month, these are the things that we got to really start looking at. And how do we get our stuff to be able to make sure that we are pushing the things that we want to push on, right? Because if we don't do that, the problem of it is then we can't figure out why. We'll be like, well, let's just put money on Google Ads because that's where it is. Now, in my business, in 2015, 16, what I did is I looked at my numbers and I was looking, and I was only spending about $20, $30 a day in Google Ads. And so I was looking at it and I'm like, man, I'm getting for $20 to $30, I'm getting an average ticket of, back then was $700. Man, what if I bump that up a lot? And so I bumped it up to $100. And guess what? It kept it rates even better. And then I bumped it up to $2,000, or I'm sorry, $200. And so that's where I eventually I bumped it up to $100 per truck I had out on the road. And there is a point that you will keep spending so much money that then you won't be able to, like, the return is not the opposite way. And so these are things that we look at, and you need to see what is bringing in my money. Like, where is it coming from? I see that Nathan put in, when I'm cranking out LinkedIn, should I be using it to find people I need to talk to, or use it for people to reach out? And it's a little bit of both. But even that, right? How much when we're looking at where I need to put my money at, or my time, because whether we're trying to get new customers by spending more money or by spending time, both of them cost you, right? Yeah, sometimes people think it's free to do Facebook and LinkedIn, but it costs you time that, right? You either got money or time, or if you do both, you're spending both. And if you're on the truck, you're probably just spending money because you don't have time to be doing the posts. You don't have time to be doing a lot of the other things. And so as we start looking at this, and as we start seeing our numbers, we want to look at how do we need to make sure that we are spending our right focus on the right thing. I see so many people that want exactly nothing's free, 100%. And so if you want free, then go do it for free for people then. But this is the key of what we need to really focus on. Whether we're talking about Christmas lights, let's talk about Christmas lights, right? We talked about pressure washing, let's talk about Christmas lights. How do we get to $500,000 in Christmas lights? Is it that we do 500 jobs at $1,000 a piece? Or is it easier to get our average ticket up to $2,000 and we only do half that? We only have to do 500 jobs, right? Because there's a difference between doing 1,000 and 500 jobs. You have a difference of, do I need to have 1 or 2 crews, or do I need to have 3 or 4 crews? And so again, when we start looking at that, how much money is it costing me to be able to hang these Christmas lights? And so, I know people that have done very well. Now, typically, you should be able to do about $500,000, right? It can be done. Now, is it going to happen your first year? It probably not, right? We're not talking about our first year. We're talking about our second or third year. And so for pressure washing, my friend Jeremy, who started his paint pro wash business, in 4 years got to $1.2 million in a pressure washing and Christmas light business. And so this is the importance of looking at what do we need to do to be able to get there, right? What money do we need to spend on ads? What does our follow-up systems look like? Because a lot of people aren't following up. And so a lot of people also aren't using your CRM. You got this beautiful CRM that you're paying hundreds of dollars a month, but how many times are you reaching out and touching those customers? How many times are you picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, Miss Jones, I see you gave a quote. What do I need to do to get this job? And I'm not lowering my prices so I can get this job," right? We're going to give value. We're going to make sure that we give value. And if we're selling Christmas lights, we're going to sell the beautiful of the Christmas lights. We're not selling the bulb, right? If you want to sell the bulb and be cheap, go somewhere else. There's plenty of people teaching that. I'm not teaching cheap. I want you to be someone that is successful and that you are making money and you're being very profitable, because at the end of the day, profit is the most important part of this business. And a lot of people think that profit is, well, I made $100,000 and I only spent $30,000 to make it. Okay, that's not profit. You just paid yourself a job, right then, right? You have a job that made you 70 grand a year. You could have went and worked somewhere else and made 70 grand a year. That's a job, right? Do you have a job, or do you have a business? And when we're talking about getting to the $500,000, we're moving from not a job, but to a business, because you pretty much got to get off the truck at that point. You don't have to, and I've got people that were able to get past it and to do it, but it's really hard to stay on the truck and be able to grow this business past the $500,000. It's tough. You can get to 250, 300,000 being on the truck all day long. But if you want to go from the 300 to wherever you want to go, you're going to have to get off the truck. Now, here's the thing when you get off the truck, right? Some of your profit's going to go down because now you got to pay people and you got employees and they're going to break stuff and they're going to do all of these awesome, stupid things that's going to not have fun with you. I have a spreadsheet with formulas I just got from a contact, and every morning it's a habit to check the basic KPIs, right? Because here's the thing about KPIs. Everybody is worried about their competitors. Everybody is worried about their competitors. What they should be doing is right here what Jeremy's doing. How can I do better than yesterday? If my close rate is 33%, how do I get it to 33.5%? If my average ticket is $800, how do I get it to $850, $900? That should be your goals, right? How can I beat myself from yesterday? Everybody's worried about their competition. Everybody wants to talk about their competition. They can tell me how many 5-star reviews their competition has. They can tell me everything about their competition. But then when I ask them about their business, it's crickets. What's your average ticket? I don't know. What's your close rate? I don't know. How many stars does your competitor have? He's got 347 5-star reviews. So you know more about his business than you know about your business. We don't care about your competitor's business, because when you worry about your competitors, you're going to be the $4 foot guy. You're going to be the $200 house wash guy. That's what's going to happen to you, because it is a rat race to the bottom, right? Rat race to the bottom. And we don't want the bottom feeders. Bottom feeders are catfishes. We don't want catfishes, right? We want the whales. We want the sharks and whales. We want the big fish. So this is something about this. Don't worry about your competition. Sell yourself, sell your work. If you do it well enough, your customers will pay premium. And then they'll give you a 5-star review, and then that'll get you more work. And that's how we grow and scale this thing, right? So how much should it cost you to get a customer? This is a good question as we grow and scale. I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. You know, I was on a coaching call this week and someone was asking, well, what about this lead? They didn't do this. And I was also talking to another person this week, and he's using Google local service ads. And he's like, you know, if it's a dud, it's a dud. I don't dispute them, right? Because I don't want to dispute, because then I don't want to get my ads turned off on him, because he makes very well with those Google local service ads. And so it's important that we understand, how much does it cost to get a customer? You know, if your average ticket is $1,000, are you willing to pay $100 to $200 for a customer? And in Christmas lights, are you willing to pay $200 to $250,000? Or $200 to $250 a customer? And the answer would be, I hope it is yes. Because a lot of times we think that, man, that's a lot of money. But what's the lifetime value of that customer? Let's say you go and you get a Christmas. I'm going to start with a Christmas light, since I've been starting with pressure washing. I'm going to start with Christmas light. Let's say you go get a Christmas light customer. And let's say your average ticket is $2,000. Maybe you're Daniel and your average ticket is $2,400, $2,500. So if your average ticket is $2,400, $2,500, or $2,000, and that customer stays for 5 years, that's a $10,000 customer for $250. What is the lifetime value of your customer? What is the cost that when that customer, how much money does that customer get you when they give you a 5-star review and start making your Google business start ranking more? What is the cost that when they tell a friend, and we know that referrals typically have a higher average ticket and a higher close rate. So from that $200 customer that it cost you to get a Christmas light customer, or maybe it's a $150 pressure washing customer, how much money are you going to make in the long term at the end of the day? You know, my friend DJ, he's my best friend, and his average ticket is right at $1,000 for pressure washing. He's nothing special. He has a website. He don't have the most 5-star reviews here. Benjamin has him by triple of the 5-star reviews. He does about $250,000 to $300,000 a year here in Cincinnati with a lot of large competitors. And so, but it's back to, what do you want to do, right? What do you want to do to be able to grow this thing? What is your goal for your business? And so, what are some things that you need to start looking at for 2026 to be able to hit $50,000 a month? The first thing I would tell you is, let's start looking at your numbers. How much is it costing you to get a customer? What's your average ticket? Do you have the ability to do it? Now, I know someone posted in here that, oh, Jason, it was up here at the top. I want to see what David Hamill had said, because he said, in 2025, it cost me $19 to make the phone ring for lights and $56 to acquire a customer. Average ticket was $1,800, and we did $521,000 in the season 4 and ran a 25% profit on top of paying myself. Know your numbers, right? Exactly. Someone up here earlier put that basically it was one of my people that like to tell me you can't make money in Christmas light business. But I'm not finding it now. Oh, here we go. Christmas lights are already becoming a race to the bottom. There are crews doing lights for $4 a foot in Atlanta. Yeah, and there's crews doing $10, $15 a foot in Atlanta too. I had a guy start in Atlanta this year, very first year. He came to my class. That's the number one key. He came to my class and he did over $200,000 his very first year in Atlanta. Very first year, $200,000, charging $10 to $14 a foot. So yeah, there's people that are not very smart that are going to go out and charge $4 to $6 a foot all day long, and they're going to go out of business just as fast as they come in. Again, quit worrying about your competition. You know, my buddy that did $1.2 million this year, he's anywhere from $10 to $20 a foot. And you know what? There's people in his area that are doing it for $6 a foot too, because they're not smart enough to be able to get $8 to $10 a foot. They don't know how to sell the lights. They know how to sell the lights. They don't know how to sell the magic. And when you don't know how to sell the magic and you don't know how to sell, guess what you sell? You sell the lights, and you sell them at $4 to $6 a foot, and you are absolutely right. You're a race to the bottom. But you can't worry about those people, because I guarantee you, the guy that I know that did $200,000 his first year, I know a guy in that same area, I bet he did $1 million in his area. Wise guys. I haven't talked to him what he did, but I know last year he was over $500,000 to $800,000 just in Christmas lights alone. So quit worrying about the low guy. Quit worrying about the cheap guys, because you can always find the cheap guys. You know, I had a guy call me this week, or actually it was 2 weeks ago, and he's like, Jason, I was at $4 a foot, because this other guy's at $4 a foot. And he went to $8 a foot, and next year he's going to $9 a foot. Guess what? He did less work and made a lot more money. Whether we're talking about pressure washing, Christmas lights, it's both the same. Charge what you're worth. This year, this was our first year, we were selling at $14 a foot in St. Louis area. And I will be the first to tell you that St. Louis area is not an easy market to be able to get $14 a foot. And that's amazing. That's amazing. I know a lot of people in there, and there's a lot of cheap people. And so that's amazing. There are guys deck staining in my area for $2.50, and they can have those customers. You know, I was talking to my buddy that when I was in deck cleaning, he used to only be like $4 to $6 a foot. We went to set $8 to $10 a foot, and guess where he's at now? He's at $10 to $12 a foot doing deck staining. You're exactly right. It doesn't matter what business you're in, you can charge what you need to do to make money in this business. So definitely awesome. All right. What is your all's questions about growing a business, about marketing, about whatever it might be? I'm excited. I'm excited for 2026. There's going to be a lot of cool things happening. I've got some really cool things in my pocket that's going to be happening. I've got an amazing landscape lighting class coming up and permanent light class coming up. Go check it out, christmaslights.io/IPT. It's the February. I've actually just brought someone else in too. So we got Michael Zuzak's going to be here doing all the landscape lighting. I'll be doing the marketing and permanent lighting, and Zuzak's going to help me with marketing. I've got Sean Day coming in for a little bit to talk about leadership and how to hire, because I know how important it is to hire for both of these businesses. So it's going to be exciting. I know the last time Sean came in, everybody loved his leadership spiel. They were all talking about it. So it's going to be amazing. So definitely, if you want to check it out, christmaslights.io/IPT, in-person training. And it's going to be here in February. We're super close to the airport. We're only 15 minutes away from the airport. If you can get to the hotel, you don't even need to rent a car. If you need a ride, I can either get you a ride or we'll find you a ride. But it is definitely amazing to see you all starting to grow your business. And again, the marketing stuff is amazing. I'm telling you, this year in marketing is changing. SEO is changing. Google Maps are going to change. I think a lot of things are going to change. It's going fast. We'll be talking about AI. I'll be talking about automations. We'll be talking about all of that stuff of what do you need to do. And here's the thing, whether you're talking about a landscape lighting business, we're talking about a Christmas light business, permanent light business, these are all things that will help you grow your business. Hit the like button. The process works if you put the work into the process. $22,000 January, heading into a $9,000 week here in High Dollar, Florida. And you know, I always bring this up, and Jason loves when I bring this up, because when he first started, he was like, Jason, you can't make money down here in Florida. There's only the $99 guy. And then he found the $79 guy. Now he finds the $49 guy. And I'm like, quit worrying about them. Just charge what you need to charge and follow the process. It is amazing what you can do. If you guys like Company Cam but want to save your profit and don't need all of their features, I found an app called Work Photos, $6.99 a month. Awesome. Does it store everything, and can you see it on your computer right away? That would be my biggest thing. But that's awesome. Work Photos. I'll have to check that out, because Company Cam's gotten a little crazy. Company Cam is like $80 a month. It got a little crazy, because you got to have 3 licenses, I think. So that's good to know. Work Photos. We are putting out yard signs soon for lawn care. First time ever. Ready to see what happens. What's up, Jason? How are you doing, Chris? Signs are great. Spitting facts tonight, brother. How can I optimize my social media? Is there a good central app that can blast them out to each social media app? And yes, there is. There's a couple different ones. If you use Go High Level, it is definitely one. If there is, um, I'm brain farting right now. There's two of them that I can think of, but I can't think what their name is. I use Go High Level is what I use because that way I can boost it out to Google My Business. I can boost it out to Twitter, Facebook. I can boost it out to everywhere. Nothing's free. Knowing your numbers give you a map so you're not driving blind. It gives you a target, right? It gives you a target to shoot at. When you're shooting, you got to use your sights, and that's knowing your numbers. If you're just shooting from the hip, you don't know what you're getting. Defrosting a couple of skid steers. Yeah, I know you're probably going to get some more work here shortly. I know we are talking about getting 3 to 4 more inches of snow in Wednesday, is what they said. So we're supposed to get 3 to 4 more inches of snow on Wednesday, and it's definitely cold out there. Sorry I didn't make it last Wednesday night. I know some people might have asked. If you follow me on social media, you've probably seen that I've been posting from water rescue that we were actually on a scene, and that's why I didn't make it on Wednesday night. And then we had ice rescue yesterday. You have to play the long game and short game all the time. Yard signs for now, 5 rounds for later. Stay consistent, prolific, and relentless. I understand tracking numbers. What's a good way to set up easy to check it, let's say once a month instead of whenever I remember? Put it on your calendar and schedule it out. Time blocking and making sure that you're doing it. Make it a priority. Because right now you're not putting it on your calendar. So put it on your calendar, time block it, whatever you need to do to start making that happen. If you have a CRM, when you input leads, make sure you notate on the lead where it came from. And this might be ask if they call you on the phone, are you asking, hey, how'd you hear about me? Did you see a sign? Are you on Google? How'd you hear about me? And I know people that drill down pretty deep on this. I had one guy that I coached that he would be like, when you're on Google, did you find me at the top of the page in the map pack or on the bottom? It's like, well, I guess that works. 50,000 in Christmas lights. Not possible in my area, right? Right. My competitors don't pay my bills. If you check Facebook Marketplace in January and July, they can't pay theirs either. That's what happens when they're cheap. When you got cheap people, that's what happens. Don't worry about your competitors. Sell yourself, sell them. Best Christmas light customer total lifetime is $30K and still going. Lights for 4 years, washing 2 times a year, 2 wedding lights, and has gotten me $15,000 of lights on the same street. Plus how many of those pictures that you use and the marketing that you can use from those all make you money too. A thing I noticed this week when I'm checking map rankings for fence building, Maps is sometimes gone in its AI overview and only shows top 2. Google is changing more good content out. They're better. They're the better. So, and here's another thing too with Google is, and with the AIs, if you have bad reviews, it is going to reflect on your Google and you may not show up as much. So it is important that you just be careful on your negative reviews. Facts, I start my aggressive marketing in 2 weeks. Not bad, David. I got up to 2.3 thousand average ticket this year. We went from $10 a foot to $11.50 this past year. We sell magic Christmas lights, magic Christmas memories, not lights. If we find out you have grandkids, your money is ours, as it is almost guaranteed sale, right? Not at all. I had a call and talked to you for 30 minutes to make sure I wasn't charging too much. What did you do with your crew this time of year? You keep paying them. I want to keep my roof guy, but don't have any work for him. ATM and probably not for the foreseeable future. So you can do a couple things, Nathan. One, you can put them on unemployment is one way to do it. Another way, I know people that pay them all year long, and so they kind of put them on a salary that way, and that's another way you can do it. We actually, um, we were just getting down the light, so February was typically building trucks back, and so used a couple of the guys to help get our trucks back up and running. Typically, we would tear down 2 to 3 of our 4 trucks. We would keep one truck for pressure washing, and then we would tear down the other 2 or 3. And so this time of year, we would start fixing stuff and building them back to get them ready to go for pressure washing, fixing things and all of that kind of stuff. Um, that's what we did. Typically, this time of the year, you could cut them back to a couple days a week if you needed to. Um, you can have him start calling people if he's good at if he can talk on the phone at all. So there's things that you can do with it. Homeowners who want $6 a foot lights are ones you don't want. Full of complaints and issues. Happy to give those jobs to the low ball guys. And that's the key with pressure washing and Christmas lights. I've learned that you will get more complaints off the cheap people than you will the more expensive guys. Because, if you go into a place and let's say combined they make $100,000, a $2,000 is 2% of their pay at that point, and they're already giving 50% of pay to the government, so $2,000 is a lot of money. But if they're making $200,000, then it's not as much because it's only 1%, right? And so it is definitely something that makes a big difference at the end. Between washing and staining and sealing, I'll be well over $300,000 this year due to the heat wave we had in December. Early January, I'm already sitting with $30,000 and $20,000 already scheduled out. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. With you, Dave. I actually sold more patios and landscaping off of my Christmas light quotes. This year is going to be a crazy year. Same. I did $20,000 month of January already. Got 16 booked for February. Still have multiple leads and $50,000 bid accepted on an HOA community center. Locked down. Awesome, man. Go get it, Wild West. What's your ops labor percentage you shoot for? Mine is usually around 27 to 30% pressure wash and 13% building. You really want to try to be around that 25%. 25 to 30% is where you want to be at. So that's typically where you want to be at. If you're more than that, you're cutting into your profits pretty hard. And that's payroll, tax, and everything. That's not just, paying someone $25 an hour. Because yes, you can pay someone $25 an hour, but you're actually paying them $35 an hour. Time you pay payroll tax and all the other stuff, benefits that you have for them. And so typically you want that around that 25 to 30%. It does if you can have 3 people on it. Was get it early. Thanks, brother. We throw our top guys in a plow truck or skid steer. We let others know they will experience layoff. We tell them up front during our meeting. And so that is something that if you do snow removal, you can definitely, because that's a full-time job. By the time the stuff that, even when it's not snowing, the stuff that they're having to fix, you're fixing stuff most of the time in Europe or in the far north anyway, so you got plenty of snow. Also, switching to a C Corp to finally pay myself. Any advice on that? I would just say talk to your CPA. A good CPA is going to know all the tax benefits of what you can and can't do. Typically, after you make so much, they're going to switch it to a C corp so that you get the better tax benefits of it. And don't pay yourself too much. Too much. You got to pay yourself a reasonable salary, so usually 50 to 70,000. Like I say, don't pay yourself too much. You can still do draws and stuff, so that's kind of where you kind of gotta go with it at. But biggest thing is talk to your CPA. Um, Again, your CPA will know a lot about that. Um, I always have the most complaints from cheap customers and people who just bought a new home. Everything has to be perfect, right? Mike, hello, Jason. Do you rent or lease, or do you at times sell lights? Doing rental, and they say that about next year, what's the price since we paid for the lights and materials? Well, one of the things is I don't tell them that they're buying the materials. So that's your first mistake. If you're telling them I need 50% up front to buy the materials, you have screwed yourself. So when I do my 50% or 30% or whatever you're going to do for your deposit, it's not, it's just to get yourself on the schedule. So that's your first thing. Um, we it's not really a rent or a lease. We're an all-inclusive service, right? We're red carpet service. So it's back to the words that you use. And rent and lease make it sound like you're selling bulbs versus we're an all-inclusive service, right? We include everything. If there's a problem, if you want to change, one of the things that we push on is if you want to change the bulb colors next year, I'll change them out for you. I will, right? It's a all inclusive service. You don't have to worry about no, because ma'am, if you actually bought the lights and maybe a light or two went out, or who's coming back for the service calls? Am I going to charge for service calls at that point? And most people don't, and so you're losing money at that point. And so this is why we do it at that. And we will lock you in at 3 years at this price. Your price won't go up, right? Or you can do a discount if you want a 10% to try to get them back. But, right, we're not raising our, this is an all inclusive service. This isn't a, we're selling you lights. We are selling you a magical service that's going to make it beautiful and make your home look beautiful. And that's what we're selling. We're not selling lights. If you sell lights, this is why you won't be able to get more than $6 a foot. This is why you'll have to sell the lights. We're selling the magic, right? We're selling the motion. We're selling that you don't have to worry about a thing. Only thing you got to worry about is signing the credit card. Signing the credit card. That's all. Give me the credit card. That's the only thing you have to worry about. Everything else, I will take care of it. I will do everything for you. So, yeah. The biggest thing I would say is when we're asking for your 50% deposit, a lot of people are like, yeah, I need the 50% deposit and I'll go buy the lights. I'm going to put them up for you. No, that's not to buy the lights. The 50% deposit is to get you on the schedule. I know a lot of times we like to say it the other way, but it's to get you on the schedule. And that's the importance of the words that you speak and why you want to say it that way. Yeah, I didn't mean C Corp, I meant S Corp. The week before the snowstorm, I went and picked up 2 blowers my team killed. It paid for the blowers and made profit. I'm considering buying a friend's business. He got injured and he can't work till probably summer. I might buy him to get his customers and hire him as a sales guy. Thoughts? Um, I mean, it can work. I guess I guess the question is how much you're going to pay for it. What does that, how much has he made? What does that look like? Where, how much has he made? How much did he do? What's his profit? You know, is he a cheap guy? Is he a high dollar guy? Those are all questions. And the sales guy, I mean, you pay him 10% commission, make him go work. And he can make, if he sells $1 million, he makes 100 grand. So that's kind of what you got to look at. Jason, that was great advice you just gave to Mike. You are spot on. I know you probably go over this in the light training, but how do you connect the lights? Just running extensions? I want to get into it this year. It's really simple. We make all our own extension cords. We make all our lights. It is in the course. If you come to the in-person training, you'll be able to actually install them on my real prop down there, gutters and house, and do everything. But it's pretty simple, and it is in my course. I have them on my YouTube videos. It's not rocket science. It's pretty easy. What conversation are you in? One thing I learned from buying out a company, make sure they changed right. I had a ton of customers, but they were mostly ones I didn't want. Yeah, make sure you know what they charged. Is true. Here's the thing. I've actually got a guy that I mentor that he bought a company out last year, 2 years, not this Christmas light season, the Christmas light season before. And he paid $40,000. And the average ticket of the guy was like $700, very cheap. He learned a lot really fast. He made back his $40,000, but not much. Like, he didn't make profit on it. And so this year he went to the different model of charging more and being able to get more. But out of that customer, it's back to what is the customer worth? So one of the customers he got there, he got the house, he got the business, and now they got like a bunch of apartments and all kinds of stuff. So he's made a lot of money on the back end of that $40,000. So, it's one of those things. You know him. Okay. Risky, in my opinion. I just purchased his high dollar routes. Thanks again, Jason. You are a mountain of information. Again, if you want to learn about Christmas lights or landscape lighting or permanent lights, you can go check out christmaslights.io/IPT. I also have a pressure washing class coming up in March. It'll be a pressure washing and Christmas light class. So it'll be Christmas lights on one day, pressure washing on the other day. So for my pressure washing people want to do in-person pressure wash, you can go to kpwtrain.com. There you will, again, that class will be 2 day, or it's a 3-day class, pressure washing Christmas, or pressure washing, marketing, Christmas lights. There will be a lot of awesome people at that class because I've got something that's going to go on for my mentorship that next week. So some of my mentor people will be coming here to help just kind of get a refresher and systems and all of that kind of stuff. So that would be a great one. This one coming up for the permanent lights and landscape lighting is going to be an awesome class. Again, we have some awesome people that are going to show up for that. I know some other people are showing up, and so if nothing else, the networking will be awesome. So definitely you want to check that out for sure. First year in lights this year, 57,000. We are 1 hour west of Atlanta. We almost started at $6 a foot because we had doubt, but right before our first quote, we said, let's do 8 and never look back. Praise Jesus. That's awesome, Southern Lawn Care. I'm glad you charged 8 and now you can go $8, $10 a foot, no problem. That's amazing, dude. It's back to, and here's the thing, I'll be the first. There's not a lot of people that teach the $8 to $10 a foot. There's not. Most people on the internet, and they're selling lights and they want to sell lights, and so they're telling you to charge $6 a foot. I had Kerry Bozeman, he called me and he's like, well, this other guy I watch, he's only at $6 a foot. I'm like, go 8. And guess what? He did $50,000 his first year because he started at $8 a foot. And so that's the importance of why we charge what we charge. The real ideal is teaming up with with teaming up. He's good at sales, but not marketing. And I don't know, just a thought. I can see the difference in your face already. 75 hard. Yes, I am doing 75 hard. I'm still at it. I'm still working at it. Actually, I gotta go read my book tonight before I go to bed. But it is definitely losing weight, and I was down. I started at 292. Last time I checked, I'm at 278. I'm sure I've lost some weight since last week because I haven't weighed myself. So it is something that's not easy. It's 75 hard for a reason. And I'm doing 75 hard right now when the weather is in the teens, high in the teens. So that sucks. Just so you know, I don't know if you know that or not. It's not easy to go outside in a workout when it's 12 degrees outside and a wind chill of like 3. So it is definitely something that if you are consistent and you are relentless and you are prolific, you will lose weight and you will do it. Whether we're talking about business, your health, your relationship, whatever that might be. And so this is why it is important that you are consistent, because a lot of times I feel like consistency is the number one key of growing a business. A lot of times we'll get on something and we'll do it really good for 2 weeks and then we quit. We'll answer the phone really good for 2 weeks and then we quit. We'll do something else really good and then we will quit. And so this is something that is important, that what you can do and how you can do it. And so it is something that I am excited for in 2026 of what's going to happen. And again, here's the thing. Some people will say, well, I don't want to go to your training, Jason, it costs money. Well, if you don't want to go to my training, that's fine. I've put everything out on YouTube. Literally, I've given you everything on YouTube. I've given you pretty much everything Daniel does on YouTube. If you can go find it and get it done, everything is completely free. But you know what I've learned over the years? If you're not willing to invest in yourself, you'll never succeed. Because very rarely will you succeed. You might make $100,000, but you won't succeed what you could, because you won't be pushed to what you can do. And this is the importance of why you want to be able to be pushed. And, what I will tell you is if you come to one of my in-person training, I will about guarantee you, if you just take action and you are consistent, you will 10x what you do. You will 10x what you learn. And you probably will 100x it. But I will guarantee if you take action, you will 10x what you learn. And if you just take action, it's going to be an amazing year this year. Don't let fear stop you from growing your business. Don't let fear stop you from shooting that video. Don't let fear stop you from getting on the phone and picking up the phone and calling your customers. Don't let fear stop you from cold calling clients. Don't let fear stop you from growing your business. What's the worst they're going to say? No. If you don't pick up the phone and ask them, guess what the answer is? No. Guess what the answer is if you don't make that social media post? No. Who cares if someone's making fun of you, right? Maybe you got family, friends that make fun of you. I used to get made fun of all the time at the firehouse. All the time at the firehouse. But you know what? I didn't care. They wasn't paying my bills. So don't worry about those people. Don't let fear stop you from growing your business. I understand sometimes people worry about their way they speak or the way they sound, or they don't like their voice. I still don't like my voice. But you know what? There's a lot of people that have had change their lives because I've spoken here, and they've been able to go take action and change their lives forever. And that's an amazing thing. So with that, go have an amazing week. Again, we're about 4 to 6 weeks out the pressure washing. And other than that, go take action, and we'll see you all later.